The Late Night Legends podcast is meant for an adult audience only. It may contain sexually oriented content. Content may not be suitable for sensitive listeners. Please be aware of your surroundings. Listener discretion is advised. Watch out.
Tell me how we got here. I see you, but you're not there. Try to save you, warn you, keep you alive. Try to stop you, but you paid the price. Tell me it's a nightmare, and you ain't going nowhere. Try to save you, warn you, keep you alive. Try to stop you, but you paid the price. Should've seen it coming, baby. Should've seen it in my eyes. It's not like I never told you.
Am I open? Oh my God. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Late Night Legends, the internet podcast and radio show. We're coming to you live from an empty, spooky movie theater where we are getting ready to watch the new Exorcist that is coming out. I don't know when it's supposed to come out, but it's
when?
No, it's like a while from now, but I'm very excited about it. So that's where we are tonight. We're just waiting for it. Also, because the director of the original Exorcist just passed.
It's true. You're right. Yeah, this is relevant.
Yeah. He just passed, but today, I think, actually, earlier today. It's very sad. That is a fantastic movie, fantastic book. Love it. Speaking of books, I have a very exciting announcement that I found so many good books at Half Price Books. And also, I received my copy
Me too.
of Shannon Collins' book.
Awesome.
And it's delightful. And you know what? She's absolutely correct. The size is perfect. It reminds me of one of those old like picture books that you get when you were a kid, like the Berenstain Bears.
Berenstain Bears is what I thought of.
Exactly. It's that size. And it's wonderful. It's delightful. And she was just such a treat to have on. And I was very excited. The book came super fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved it. So Kara, what did you
Signed it too, so that was extra cute.
It was so cute.
I didn't get a chance to read it. I just like flipped through. I was like, what did I get? Because it was like real mail.
I know, it was like in the mailbox and everything. Very exciting.
What comes next? Anything exciting this week, Jenny?
I don't have anything super fantastic or exciting going on. I'm going to dive into some books. Very excited about that, but I'm home for the weekend, which is good. It will be nice. It will be very nice. Kara, what do you have going on?
This weekend I'll basically be home, but I have a 1-year-old's birthday party to go to, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I think I'm gonna go see the Barbie movie after that.
Nice.
So I didn't know if I would end up seeing it, but I guess I am going to. So that's pretty exciting. I have a car show to go to tomorrow, so that'll be super fun. I have 2 weeks off of school now, so I don't know what to do with myself. You know, if I'm not overwhelmed and almost in tears, I don't know. So I have to find things to do. I did get the A. Yay.
Yes.
Congrats.
Good. Like there was ever any doubt.
So for everybody watching, there was a final 25 points out of everything, and I only needed 7 out of 25 points to get the A. I got 25 out of 25. I kept saying, I'm not even trying. I'm not even making the effort. And here we are. So once I got the first assignment back, 10 out of 10, I was like, oh. And then the second one was almost a little embarrassing. I was like, oh. So that was nice. So I have 2 weeks off now. So I'm sure I'll take something else on because I'll be a little not overwhelmed and I'll panic. So that week we had an exciting weekend in the Joliet prison world. If anybody wants to check out my page for updates. Our friend Dave Schrader had some wonderful updates about it. I found it delightful. I got to listen to it. I worked all weekend. I got to listen to it Saturday nights, and he's just wonderful. Love him. So yeah, it was a really exciting weekend. For those of you that don't know, there's been some changes going on and some kind of rough stuff at the prison. That's why I haven't really been there, or haven't been there, period. And we knew there was a news story coming out, and it finally did on Saturday. So we can talk a little bit more about everything. So follow my page, check it out, and you'll see all the updates. Because to tell the whole story would take the whole episode and more. So check it out.
Indeed, indeed. And you can also find all of that, all of the information on Hella Obscura as well, which is
Yes.
a delightful page there. We are sharing all sorts of art and photos and cool and interesting stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Frank?
And then,
oh,
anything from Frank?
Oh,
Frank?
I was going to say that our special guest for tonight did join in the waiting room, but then he left.
Oh, well, how about I'll start
Oh.
talking about him, and hopefully he pops back in.
Okay.
Tonight we are lucky enough to be joined by Rob Thompson. So that is super exciting. I finally get to meet him, other than just kind of interacting on social media, and all of that. So Rob Thompson is a spirit medium. He has been, I think one of his TikToks I saw earlier, sums it up. He's for 25 years. He's been traveling the world to document, paranormal activity and ghosts. So he is on season 12 of his TV show Ghost Finders. So
He's ready to join us.
More about that. Oh, he can join us then.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll let him in.
All right.
All right.
There he is.
There he is.
There he is.
He's so good. He has a picture of it. I just have the black screen.
Yeah, I just have black screen too. I always love it when people come on with like the really nice profile picture. It's so professional, and I'm so not professional. Like, I can barely do photos anyway. That's going to be my new profile. And thumbs up. Also, can we just immediately say that I'm super jealous that he has traveled the world for the past 25 years just doing anything?
I know.
Yeah. I mean, not to mention the fact that it's a really cool job.
That it's cool stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. Cool and exciting stuff. How great would it be if his picture just started talking right now? Amazing. If it was really just him, just really good.
Just that perfect. Hello, and he's been listening to everything we said.
Just so you know, Rob, everybody starts out muted, so you got to unmute yourself. Yeah, so just
Exactly.
Okay, going better than what I wanted with the photo. Oh,
Unmute.
No. Unmute. I don't think so. Is he just screaming at us? I feel like he's just screaming at us right now.
Unmute.
So there we go. Oh my God. Do you know what? You missed some great jokes. You were actually pretty good too.
Okay, say him again. Say him again.
But we laughed appropriately, I feel like.
I think
You know why I can't say them now? Because I know them.
Okay, that's good.
How are you all? It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. That's really nice of you. With all of the all the bars and all the sleazy joints in the world, you had to
You had to walk into ours.
Yeah.
Yours.
Good luck.
Well, Kara, you and I go way back. At least I feel
Yes,
that way.
I'm so excited. I was like, I finally get to meet him.
And yeah, you see this like obnoxious British twit and just see what he's all about.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's all right. Don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all
That was
good.
the whole plan. No, welcome so much. I started introducing you and you were, kind of off screen. So I'm over here saying, I one of your TikToks I caught earlier was, just like the perfect introduction. I think it was meant to be, but you've spent 25 years traveling the world as a medium, and then I forgot the rest of it, but I thought that was fantastic. You're on your 12th season of Ghost Finders. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is. It really
Like,
is.
12 seasons is
12
huge
seasons
for
is
anything.
huge. Yeah.
Just 12 is huge, depending on your point of view, and what you're talking about. And well, I mean, come on, it's after 10 o'clock at night, for crying out loud. So it's not a family show.
Kids are in bed.
It is not a family show.
It is not.
And then Kara's on it, and you're on it. So I mean, it can't be, can it? Really, you know. So I can't tell you how great it is to be on. Are we on? Are we? Are we on? On?
We're on.
We are live. Yep.
Hello, everyone. I thought we were still dry running it. Dear oh dear.
No.
I'm driving up the highway, and I'm like, and this is like doop dee doop dee doo dee doo. Raindrops, you know, and I'm like, pick a lane, you know, and I was like, my podcast coming up. So anyway, here I am, and it's good to be here, and in sunny North Pennsylvania. We had a tornado warning. This year.
What?
You.
Yeah.
I
So-
saw something about people in Annapolis, Maryland worried about tornadoes today.
Yeah, it seems pretty far reaching. I mean, you know, we think of tornado and we're like, all right, so it's like Tuesday. But yeah,
Yeah.
for you guys, not so much.
No, and it's really weird. Like, you know, I mean, this is technically, even though it's like 40 minutes away from it, as far as I could get at the time, from Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's really interesting because it's in a valley, you know what I mean? So, I mean, but then again, even the tornadoes don't want to come to Scranton.
No, I mean, I've never been, but that's what I hear.
No, I know.
Nor will I be.
I feel like it's how we feel about Indiana, maybe. Like,
A little bit.
I thought Indiana was, you know, we did our first two shoots for season 12 in Indiana at the RCA, and then at the Bell Mansion.
yeah, I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to I didn't know for sure. So
I just thought Indianians were really amazing people. I think we were really very kind.
sure they probably are. No, but you
Yeah.
know, like Lindsay, you're talking about, like
Lindsay who?
Lindsay Crouch.
Ah, gosh, that name sounds so familiar.
And she's wonderful. And you know, so you have some of the wonderful Indianans around you. No, we just live in Chicago, or Chicago area, so we just have to not like Indiana. It just goes with it.
Immediately. Even though I just
by
went to
default, by
yeah.
our birthright. No, thank
Yeah.
you.
I just went to the dunes and it was delightful, and we stayed in Chesterton, and I love that town so much. The whole thing was delightful, but I left Chesterton and I got closer to Illinois and I was like, no.
We don't like Indiana.
Go
The
away,
spell is
Indiana.
done. The
Yeah,
spell is over.
it's a regional thing.
We both spent our weekends in Indiana, which is
Yeah.
highly unusual.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
Totally independent of each other. So,
Mhm.
but I think you were on the nice side of Indiana. It's nice over there.
What side are you on?
We're like on the west side of it, not in Indiana, in Chicago. So your side is like the better side.
West Side Chicago.
Oh no.
Very
No.
chic, right? Oh yeah, West Side Chicago.
That you know that.
I've had two of the best hot dogs I've ever had in my entire life outside museum with a T-Rex on a hot dog stand
Field Museum.
Field
Museum.
Museum.
Field
with
Museum.
75 toppings and a
I
whole.
know that cart. I know that cart. They have been making quality hot dogs there since I was a little kid.
He's got this. Like, how does he do? Like,
You know?
he puts those 75 Heinz 57. He puts it the other way around, and then he wraps it 4 times in half a second.
Yeah.
You know. And I just thought it was great, so good. I got to the end of the block, and because I was like going to bring one home for my friend, which unfortunately didn't make it. And then, so I felt guilty, and I had to go back
Yes,
and get 14 more.
exactly.
That's a lot.
So
So that it
That man
survives the
knows his
rest
hot
of your
dogs.
walk and makes it to your
Yeah.
friend.
Oh my God, I don't know whether they're soubrettes or they're his or
It's that guy. He has been there for ages and they have always been delightful. Now there's other hot dog carts around, but that guy is number one aces. I don't know what it is.
We're
So
gonna have to
listen
make a
up,
trip.
everyone. If you want your hot dog review, you tuned in right to the right place.
We're gonna have to go because we know hot dogs here. So I'm gonna have to. I don't think I've
Yeah,
had
we consume more sausages than anywhere else in the world per capita. Here
I believe it.
in Chicago, yes.
All right, Frank.
Hey, I have hot dog knowledge. What can I say?
Anyway, that's the best one. And that
Oh.
means we go to a museum. So let's schedule this trip. Let's all do
We
this.
will.
Let's get this on the books. We got
I'm
a
all
lot of
about
cool
it.
stuff
Can I
with the
come?
field trip coming up.
But yeah, I mean, yes.
I
We'll
can.
schedule this. Yes.
Absolutely.
We'll make it an official outing. And
We'll pay for it with petty cash from the show.
I get, yeah,
Frank.
petty is right. Yeah. On my show. What are you talking about? My show? That's petty. But I like that name, that word petty. It's almost pretty, but it's sort of not. But anyway,
It's like the opposite of pretty that sounds like pretty.
yeah.
Almost
You know,
pretty.
I can't tell you how refreshing it is to be on a podcast that are likely not to ask me a single bloody normal question for the rest of the night. I mean, I really,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, now the pressure's on. Gee.
We do
gonna
we
flip
do
through the
like
notes.
to do. Yeah.
Right.
We like to do things originally and uniquely. And we thought, why bother with the paranormal anymore?
you know, though, but that isn't that how you get the best things happen, you know, when you sort of drift into the lanes of the paranormal and not be like, so what's your favorite paranormal piece of equipment? And that's what I love about
there's
you
that.
guys, is you guys, it's just all about the interaction. You could be reading the telephone directory, guys, and you are freaking hysterical. I love it. Love
Thank you.
it. It's one of my
Thanks.
favorite podcasts.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank
nice.
you.
Thank you.
Let's keep him. Let's keep him. Can we take a vote?
shall.
So what's your favorite piece of paranormal equipment?
Mhm. I was really wondering.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know
No,
that.
actually, that's my
not-
least favorite
not
question.
helpful.
Because what are you gonna say?
I don't like
I mean,
that.
what is theoretically? What would you say? No, it's like so people are just gonna say like some random thing, and okay, it's not that interesting.
Yeah, especially if you don't know all of the paranormal equipment, which I definitely don't.
You could just make something
No.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look at what's in
my
it.
favorite is the PK 3971
Oh,
Oh,
version 3.
I have one of those on
Excellent.
the way. I'm really excited to use it at my next investigation.
Someone right now, someone's like on Google.
Yeah, they're oh no, better get one. Yeah, no, or I don't like, so where else have you been? And like, and what do they want you to do? Just like
Oh.
stuff places? Where have you
Well,
gone and investigated?
I had Jay Blumka ask me one time. He was like, so where else? Where have you been? Have you been to Eastern State? I was like, yeah. He's like, have you been here? Have you been there? Have you been there? Have you been here? No. And he's like, well, I won't go through the rest of the list, but like, why? And I said, you mean with the show? And he was like, yeah. And I said, because everyone else has.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not like 150 ways to beat an egg, is there? Let's be honest. I mean, the results are always going to be different, as they say on the pods thing commercial. But it's like it's basically the story has been sort of told, so it's going to vary within the talent that's put in to that location, and I'm not knocking it, but to each their own. For us, there are a few that are well known, some that are kind of known, and some like people are like, what the fuck are they? You know, like what with that's a bakery in Canada,
Yes, that's where I want to see.
Yes.
See, but I like that better. So I have I'm going to say my origin story, because I think I kind of used almost that term of like really getting into the world at a very famous location, spending all my time there. Let me tell you, people don't get the history right when you start having these big locations. Depends who you ask. And everybody has their own take, and every show ends up being so completely different, and not in a good way. Like I watched each of these shows and I go, who did you talk to? Like, why are you saying like that stuff that isn't true? I like the little locations that nobody knows anything about, and you're not here to question it. Like if you talk about a bakery,
Yes.
like that sounds
Yeah.
great.
There's no
That sounds
presupposition.
yeah, like that sounds awesome. I'm not watching your show going, well, when this other show went there, they said this and that. And what are you saying? And I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. I like a funky little place that just has its own story, its own haunting, its own history,
I like
all of
that.
that.
For me, I like the little places because I get to look at like the history or like whatever else is going on. So I get to learn about some place that I've never heard about before, regardless of like the paranormal that's going on, just in the world. Like that's a town I've never heard of, or that's a thing I've never. One of my used books purchases is the Atlas Obscura.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which I love that because you get these little, you get those little tidbits of information about a specific place. So I like seeing, oh, I've never heard of that particular area. That's me on my phone, by the way.
Yeah, no, I like, don't you find like though as well that like it's almost like when people ask, I know for me, it's almost like, well, how do you find these places? And I say, well, they kind of find us, you know, because it's just sort of happens really, you know. There's not like one person who has, you know, we get suggestions, and then Steve Dills does a bunch of them, and Daniel of course knows everyone in paranormal in the cosmos. So you know, it's great to have connections, but sometimes it's really nice to travel off the beaten path, because you don't a pet peeve of mine, all right, is like, for example, when you go to Gettysburg, I'm not going to name names, but like, okay, all right, well, you're going to start your investigation. Okay, well, so just so you know, there's no being naughty, and there's no drugs or alcohol, you know, until after. And then, you know, so you're going to meet Jeremy and little Tim, tiny Tim, and then little Sarah. And then you're going to, she's got her little spinny wheel. And I'm like, well, now that you've fast forwarded, should we just like wrap it up?
No.
now that you told me what I'm gonna see, or who I'm gonna talk with, because it's supposition. And if you're trying to tell your own story, then you shouldn't even really know about any of that. And I don't mean just the mediums. I mean anyone.
Well, yeah. How do you feel? Okay, so like that is a question just about paranormal investigating or whatever. Like, how do you feel when, you know, you want to call it a science, or people want to say it's a science, but a science would be that everybody does, you know, consolidate their evidence and say, this is what I got in this room before you walk in, for example. And I mean, it's certainly not replicable like science. So yeah, how do you feel about like the sharing the information? Because I've definitely been like the tour guide on these big tours at this big place. Some people will walk in and go, okay, so what happens here? What should I expect here? I'm not, that seems weird to tell you that, because doesn't that change the outcome? You know, that's
an interesting, wow, you're going down a rabbit hole within a rabbit hole now. Like, wow, that's really an interesting question. And you know, there is another way of looking at it. Of course, it just depends why you're there. You know, if you're there in a tour, or if you're there as an investigator, or if you're there as a paranormal group, or if you're there as a TV production, you know, it's
good point.
So for me, the less I know, the better. But that's almost completely unavoidable unless you like put yourself in a jam jar, you know, for the month of pre-production. So I don't know. You know, I think people forget that really it's so so much simpler than you don't need all this. You really actually don't need any of this great big equipment, and you don't need to be a medium. Just turn the light off, picture someone in your mind or in your heart, and will them there, and speak and see if you can get some kind of response, whether it be an audible response or you know, in your mind's eye and mind's ear. That's honestly my favorite thing. If I go to a place and it's abandoned, just to go and sit in the corner for an hour or so, everyone's like, freaking skiving off, bringing everything inside again, you know, and I'll just sit there and be. And the people you meet, and then sometimes there's nothing, like nothing at all, and that's frustrating. So then what you do is, of course, you pad out the history and you just make it as good a show as you can without embellishing anything. And then, you know, sort of so that you haven't sort of driven for 7 hours for absolutely no reason.
You got to see a cool abandoned place. It's cool.
Yeah. So I mean, and honestly, intention is everything. I honestly would rather have a team of 5 people that have all got great intention, that are professionals, and that aren't, you know, making a great big, you know, like a blanket, a woven blanket out of their egos, you know what I mean? And just like really just to like everyone's there to be supportive, and there's love and a connection between those people. Spirit knows all that for you, even got out of your car. So I always think to myself, if it's a place that other groups have been before, I'll just think to myself, well, I'll hope for the best from the previous people that were here, but I don't know. So you can never be too kind or too respectful. And in our experience on the Ghost Fighters in the last 12 years, it's just yeah, it's the honey and flies method, you know. It's just literally be civil and have the intention of love and help, like maybe striking it up with someone at the airport waiting for your flight to board.
I was at ISS last weekend, and there was the cutest young guy who was one of like the guides or volunteers, whatever. And he was this cute little Southern accent, and he goes into like the nursing home portion, you know, so there's definitely spirits all over. And he goes, you know, I just go in there and I just say, sweetest pie, hey honey, how you doing, honey? And they'll do things, you know, they'll respond. And I just say, oh, yeah, tonight's real nice. And they'll respond. And he's just this cute boy. He's like 19. He's just going through this whole thing for all of us. And I'm just staring at him because I'm like, oh, we're just like doing all this. But it works because he is nice. He loves the place. He maintains the place. These spirits, when you know, become like a resident of the location, they love it. They love you. And, you know, and he's still just going in, just sweet as pie, just talking to him. and they love him. And they do like apparently consistently respond.
Isn't that wonderful though, guys? What do you think? Like when you not only can make out the words, but an accent, you know, like a regional, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like the Southern drawl. And I think that's amazing, because then immediately you've got, you know, you've got a more information right there, you know, but then you've also got more questions to go with it. So
in that case, like in that place, it was a nursing home where they all have accents. So it was just a bunch of old people with accents.
I'd love to go there. I'm high on my bucket list. So I'm hoping to make it next year.
So my rule for the next time I go back, we're staying, because it's almost 4 hours from us, which didn't seem that bad driving down. We were like, oh, it's a little long. We didn't get a room. They have rooms there. They have places you can stay. We didn't get a hotel room. And we drove all the way home. I was
This totally
I-
tracks though. This made absolute sense when you told me about it. But next time
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, it was. I
I'm
think
staying. So
my husband drove both ways. Like he was gonna do this.
What a trooper.
Like, yeah, he was, and he would do this, but like, oh my God. And a few times driving home, like I kind of dozed off because I felt like by proxy, if I was awake, we would all be safe. And he could never fall asleep. And a few times I caught myself like dozing off. I was like, no, we're not. This is terrible. And
yeah.
so no, it like, and I keep saying like, oh, so far. And people are like, it's not that far. And I was like, but
Well,
it is
No,
if you
but it-
leave there at 3 a.m. like and
It
drive
is.
all in one day.
And
then
next time I'm coming, and there's no way in hell that I'm not gonna have to sleep at like 3
Yeah, so we'll have to get a
There's no
room
way.
and then wake up there. So yeah, anyway, so it's great. It's super cool. They're working on improving things. They're working on more rooms being open and more space, but like, and it's great, except I just didn't sleep. So I'm still a little traumatized from my experience. And the cutest, what I thought was so funny, what always kind of scares me is like direct voice phenomenon when you actually hear it. Cause I'm like, are you sure it's not a real person hiding somewhere? You
Right.
know, like, I don't know if I trust that that's a ghost.
It's a setup.
So we were in the car leaving, and the whole group happened to come out of some tunnels where there were a lot of bats, and I was freaked out about the bats, but they came out of some tunnels and they go, we're in the car. And they go, we're hearing voices in the woods. There's ghosts in the woods. It's direct voice phenomenon. And I'm thinking to myself, we are just in the middle of nowhere, southern Indiana right now. The fact that you would think they're ghosts first, I don't know. I'm assuming they're people out in the woods.
First reaction. That is not the first reaction.
So I was glad we were in the car. I rolled my window back up and we drove. But
Lock the doors, drive really fast.
Lock the door so the ghost can't get
So the
in.
ghost can't get in.
Exactly.
No, I do, Rob. So, you know, like I do run from ghosts. Like I'll be like, wow, you know, and I'll run. I can know exactly that it's a spirit. It's not a human. My friend Nikki literally will be next to me. She'll start kind of like going faster because I am. She goes, you know, this doesn't make a difference. You can't actually run from them.
They don't have
I'll
legs.
still be like
can't.
jogging, and because she's just keeping up with me, and I go, no, I know. I just can't stop right now.
I feel like you can. Now, mind you, like I have not been on one of these, but I feel like you could run if you
I think so. You know, I think it's highly effective. I don't know.
hide.
I feel better when I'm
hide.
farther away.
You know, I think you could hide.
I think you'd have more. Honestly, I think the effect would be the same, but I think most fairly non-asshole ghosts would be just like, oh shit, well, there goes another possible friendship. You know, and you know, you're like, no, it's a demon from hell, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, the cameras would love it. No, it's
Yeah, it
usually
would.
so. Honestly, anytime I've like run, it's been at the prison, you know, so it's a prison.
Yeah.
And it's these long galleries. So there's just something about, and like, it's not from every single spirit I see. It's not from everything I feel. There's just every now and again, somebody that I got to run from. And it's like down the gallery. It's very dramatic because it's really far. And I just keep running. I'm like I'm dying laughing by the end. I'm not like screaming in terror. I think it's so funny. It's just like an involuntary reaction. One of my friends said to me once, oh, I like see how you are in an emergency. Good. I'm like, it's not an actual emergency. Nothing happened. I just couldn't, I run towards them. Usually the emergency is not ghosts. But like, no, so it's an involuntary reaction. I'm not even like screaming. I'm just like, and go. And then I'm laughing. Because I think it's truly delightful that I might like actually like you see a ghost, come on, it's the coolest thing. That's why we do it. But then I still run.
Yeah.
So having never been on this thing, I'm really enjoying the way I'm switching this completely around. So I'm really enjoying kind of the way that you were talking about it. Like you talk about visiting these haunted spots, almost like I talk about going to various places that I want to see out in the world, right? So like when I'm traveling, like there's, you know, a lot of like nature and outdoor stuff where I just sit and feel and think about it. And I have never thought of being on on a paranormal investigation in the same way of just being in a corner and just sort of feeling that out. Has that kind of always been the way that you've gone into these places, or is that something that you learned over time? It's almost like being a paranormal, I don't know, like any way that I say this isn't going to sound right, but like a feelings tourist. Does that make sense?
Or like a spirit medium.
Well, yeah.
Like well, there you go. For example, no, honestly, for me, each and every place, wherever it be, whether it be a former residence or a hospital, which is kind of, I guess, a residence, whatever, wherever the place is, I almost feel like an uninvited guest.
Okay.
Because getting the owner's permission isn't being invited. Because the owner isn't the owner. I mean, it is, but it isn't. So it's they're a steward. You know what I mean? Of that property, of that location, that is here for a speck of a second. So I'll always ask, once I find out, where it is we're going. First thing I'll do is just really ask if I can go up there. If it's not like 4 or 7 hour drive. But if it's wherever it happens to be, I'll just ask permission, and just say, like, obviously I won't know if I'm getting a yes or a no, for example, most of the time. In fact, I don't think I've ever gotten a response, but I've at least asked. And I think intention it's almost like those metal detectors that you get off at Heathrow Airport. By the time you get to customs and the passports and stuff, your face has already been run through Interpol and the FBI, CIA, and it's just really your intention is known as soon as you arrive. So I think it's really honestly, for me, it's about going in there. If this is what you're asking, all right, it's about going in and really not assuming that every spirit that you come into contact with at a location wants to be crossed over.
Oh, okay.
Who knew?
Yeah.
And don't worry. We're gonna just. But I'm fine. No. But I don't want to be crossed. Yeah. No. It looks better on camera. So I mean, engage, and it can be so simple. You really don't need to have these elaborate sort of setups and Q&As and a lot of the stuff that are MO, other than a call sheet which says who's going to be in whose group and basically which floor. That's about it. It happens as it happens, which I can't say for some shows. And that's fine too, because they're telling us they're telling a story their way. But there's really, I suppose, there's the thing that we forget most, I think, is really that there's no set way of doing any of this. In fact, why we are who we are as a paranormal community should be embraced for our differences of opinion, our differences in politics, or whether we think Tony the cat should have had a fundraiser at the event, and blah blah blah. I still believe, and I see the drama online, I think, God, I would give anything to have half enough time to give a rat's ass about any of it. But truthfully, I think it's an amazing community of people that are there in a heartbeat for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rambling on and on and on, aren't I? Oh, okay.
No, I love it.
No, it's fantastic. I love the way you're explaining all of these things. You hear.
Sorry, I kind of go. I do. I go off on little tangents, but it's very it excites me, and it's a passion for me, and it's one of two passions: filmmaking and the paranormal. Is the only two things that have really ever interested me. So it doesn't really make me angry. It just saddens me, because everything that we're doing under the paranormal umbrella is about love, and it's about intention, and about giving a shit about each other, not just about each other when we're in times of crisis, but you see someone being called out and just picked on, bullied, and it's like, you're there for them, and that's what I love. I love is that you'd be hard pushed to find better people than 90% of the people in the paranormal community.
Well, and you're so right with anything in any community, in any discourse whatsoever. If you aren't allowing for differences of opinion or different methodology or anything, different ideas, then you are stifling growth. Right. So nothing's going to progress unless there's new ideas and new perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's for anything. That's for everything. That's for life. So I love that too. I look a lot more at like cryptid sort of things because I'm a Bigfoot girl. But like when people come down on other people because this is what I think they are and this is what I think they are, and it doesn't matter. We don't know. So you can't say one way or another. And if we stifle every new idea, or anybody who has like somewhat of a silly idea, or what you perceive as a silly idea, or whatever, then you're never going to grow. You're never going to learn. You're never going to be open to the possibility that, oh, maybe something else is here.
Yeah, I think if you close your mind, no matter how silly it sounds, that you just sort of, in the end, you're going to miss out on some good stuff, and
right.
And even if it's a crazy notion, it's still a notion, and it's still something that you can mull. Interesting, and then you're embracing it in some way.
You can go back throughout history. I mean, Galileo was considered a heretic and an idiot.
Yeah.
So come on, and he's kind of awesome. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Galileo, top-notch guy.
That was my impression.
I heard some things.
No,
I tell you that the guy owes me about $2 million. He bought two of my skyscrapers, never paid me, son of a bitch.
That is good.
That's awesome.
That's really good.
Scary.
That's very.
It's like having two guests on tonight.
Yeah, that's, I think the coolest thing I noticed since being able to really, not watching social media. Yeah, that is where you see all the stuff all going on between everybody all the time. And it's too bad. There are some interesting weeks watching Facebook and everything, but no, I think it's so cool. I've definitely taken on I will listen to what you're saying, and really, who's to say that's not right? So thinking of Bigfoot, there are so many different theories of Bigfoot. How do I know? And because I spend a lot less time thinking about Bigfoot than Jenny does. So I just can't, I don't have that much time to think that hard about Bigfoot, but
and sharks. I mean, I do think about sharks a lot.
And sharks. Yeah, no, there is some variety there. It's not just all Bigfoot, but there's so many different concepts. So I think of it, when I think of that open-mindedness, I'm like, you might be right with a lot of stuff. Why, you hear all the time, like, there are no professionals in the paranormal field, because nobody knows. We don't know, and we all perceive it differently. I know I see apparitions or hear things differently than somebody next to me. Maybe we both perceive something is going on, but I can't say one way is the right way or the wrong way, and that's so important as we all talk to each other, instead of saying anybody is, who's to say who's wrong in this world, that we can't actually see anything, or we can't actually have definitive proof. That's, who am I to tell somebody they're wrong? How am I right?
Door gets broken in. Freeze! Paranormal police. Hand over your K2s. Let me see your Q&As.
That's the next show idea, you know?
Oh God, Travel Channel will be out there next week with that one. Oh my God. Don't blink.
Well, I personally, we talked about it here, so we own this now. We get to do that show.
I like it. I like it a lot. There's a TV show. There's a comedy, and I don't remember where it's out of, but it's like Wellington PD or something, and it's all about these two police officers. Yeah, it's the same. It's comes from the same people who did like what we do in the shadows,
which is pretty much my favorite.
Which
so
is the
glad the new
best.
season is out.
Really good.
So good, but it's like Wellington PD, and it's the two police officers in the movie, and they run into all sorts of paranormal occurrences, and it's pretty great.
I swear I've watched this. I'm gonna have to Google this later because this all sounds familiar, but I can't actually remember it either.
And I'm probably totally getting the name wrong because that's what I like to do is I like to forget things and then make them up and pretend like that's my brain goes, yeah, sure, that sounds right.
Sounds about right.
We'll fix it in post editing. It's all good.
It'll be the right name. Nottingham.
Yeah.
Right over it.
Nottingham. I love American.
I just had that's literally the only other thing I could think of that might sound a little British.
Right, Nottingham
Yeah.
and eggs is love it. One of my favorites, and a little toast on the side. And no, but my favorite is when you guys say and they go, oh, and go to Scotland. Oh, you're going to Edinburgh. No, Edinburgh.
I was like, it's in
Edinburgh.
Scotland.
I'm like, that doesn't make sense. But if that's the case, then if you're in Pennsylvania and you're going to the city of Pittsburgh,
oh,
oh,
when you put it like that,
Yeah.
you sound a little.
or St. Petersburg,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And that's clearly Berg.
like that thing that burned and fell to the ground, the Hindenburg.
That's the new name now. That's
It
what
is.
we call
That is
it.
the new name.
Henceforth.
I love
Yeah,
it. Honestly, it's so quaint, and I love Americans. I love America. It's so
We're so great.
fantastic
I know.
country.
It
You
looks
know?
like we're like angry little toddlers half the time. Like, this is how it's gonna be.
And this is how I say it.
Yep.
So I'll tell you what. I used to work for this guy. Who was I worked at his bar. It was at the cricket grounds in Lords in London. Anyway, he was a jock, right? He was from Glasgow. You could not understand a fucking word this guy said. It was my first day, and he goes, "Hey, Robbie, this what happened. I just got to put a hot to got a cup of two, and I was like, well, 2 kegs, and I was like, change the other one for the beer." And I was like, God, help me now. You know, and then I thought I'd just ask him to repeat himself. So after the third time asking him to repeat it, I thought if I ask him again, I'm going to get fired. So I said, "There's something wrong with me. Can you write it down? Because there's something wrong with me, not you." And that's how we got around it. Yeah. And then I met a girl, and she was Scottish, and she translated for me, you know, hang out at the bar. Oh, it's like that's great, the hitting the tune, a band of shit. Oh, he wants a gin and tonic.
I have a friend named Ross who asked me what the lime was. I'm like, the lime? What are you talking about? But he meant time, and I don't know why. I have no idea where that came from, but it's like because the word rhymes a little bit, like where he's from, they kind of use it interchangeably. So it's like if you ask somebody like, "What's the lime?" It's like, "What's the time?" I had no idea, but he
Where
just
is he
assumed that
from?
he's from England.
Oh,
My friend Ross.
That's a new one to me.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Or is Ross just fucking with him?
No, I don't
Was
think
he
he
a little
is.
drunk?
Maybe he is.
Did he
In
drink
England, we
something?
just rhyme words and make them up.
Listen, he might have just been trolling me, so I would be embarrassed to ask somebody one day.
I
He
feel
set me up for the long joke, is what he did.
I think I have a lot of respect for this guy because that's a long con.
I'm going to show myself out.
Like,
One
I
day
think
we'll go to
he was
England.
hazing you. He was
I was
hazing
doing
you.
something.
It was. I remember my first when I was a teenager. God, I've been going on and on and on this bloody life. Is it was the first day, and I was working as a mechanic's assistant, and they sent me out. You know what? Could you go and ask Chris for the sky hooks? And I was like, okay, yeah. I'll just after lunch. He was like, can you do it first? Okay, Chris, the sky hooks, just both sets of the sky hooks. And he was like, oh, okay. Does he need anything else? And then I went all the way back to ask him across the shop, gosh, what a bloody dickhead. And he's like, oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you. Can you ask him for the long wait? We got there's the tire, we got to hold it. Keeps asking for the long wait. And I was like, okay. And I was like, can I get the long wait too? He was like, oh, sure. Yeah. And I'm just, I was there for 20 minutes. Yeah. Lunch was over. Lunch was over, and I'm starting to hear increasingly loud roars of laughter. Yeah. Yep. And I had a cold sausage, egg, and cheese sandwich that I had at 5 instead of 12. So that was good. That was good. It was my first day. Luckily, it got better. But yeah.
We'll both look back on these days and laugh. Don't worry.
That's isn't that what it's all about? You know,
I think so.
Someone said to me the other day that they think that and I thought it was a good analogy, that paranormal investigating is like a drug, because once you get a really big scare and something, like an AVP or a full-bodied or half-bodied or whatever, you're all constantly looking for a bigger fix or to repeat.
It's that adrenaline.
Yeah. So I mean, we're all thrill seekers at heart, but with the best of intentions, and I always wonder if there are human hunters or human investigators, go the spirit that investigate, do you believe in humans? Yes, I was one. Oh, okay. Well,
I like this a lot. Yeah, no, I love nothing more than I call it just like running around with my friends at night. Like, I love nothing more than just, let's go into this creepy place all together and just explore. You don't know what you're going to find. The building itself could have some crazy thing happening, or you're like, wow, this is a lot of black mold in here. We probably shouldn't be here. You never know. And it's always just the best way to spend the night with your friends. I love it. I think that's huge. Like, that is so huge.
Yeah. I mean, I think that all of it is just this allowance for a little bit of magic, right? And life is so intensely boring without just allowing for a little bit of magic.
It's like a roller coaster, but you might learn something because it might have a history too. Whereas a roller coaster,
it's magic, not a roller coaster.
It's just magic, not physics, Frank.
Okay.
Not physics,
Frank.
Definitely not physics. Got it.
Wrong.
I'm a doctor, not a scientist.
Leave the science alone.
No, wait, no, he's not Scottish, is he? What's it point? Oh, well. Anyway, what are you going to say, Dan?
I'm so busy yelling at Frank.
And we're keeping the magic here.
Magic.
It is. It's a little extra magic. Life is so much better with the unknown.
And because wouldn't it be so boring if we didn't speculate what's next, what's this, what's that, what's it, and well, we'd be just literally these 1-2-dimensional sort of beings. It's just a shame that with the capacity that we have for love and for growth and to evolve, that we as a species generally choose killing and blowing each other up, and greed poisoning the house we live in, and
a lot.
It just so when people say to me, oh, UFO, a little green man comes down, why doesn't he come and talk to you, or why doesn't he come in? I just say, well, because we're about as evolved as bacteria, and why would they can see what we're doing. They can see what we're like. They don't need to like go and have a cup of tea with Mr. and Mrs. Smith, even though they might be nice people. Actually, they are. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a really good metaphor.
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Like, there's just why would you purposely shut yourself off from the idea that there can be more? You know, I get that question a lot, as I'm sure anybody anywhere in the paranormal world whatsoever gets the question, well, why? Just from people that you know, when you start talking about any of this stuff, like, why do you believe in those things? Well, why would I not?
Mhm.
Why don't you believe in them?
Right.
So I say,
my life is great. Like, my brain is firing with a lot of stuff. There's a lot of cool imagination stuff going on.
right.
What are you doing?
It's
Well, what are they thinking about all the time?
Right.
Like, how boring is it in their heads if they're not doing all of this? No, okay, I have a serious question that maybe from like all your experience with, things. So speaking of like what happens next, so one thing I have learned, and people that are around people dying a lot know, a lot of times when people are dying and they're still able to talk, they will talk about somebody in the corner. They'll all see somebody, it's a man in the corner.
right.
So this is normal, and for years, honestly, I'd be like, and you just kind of walk out the door. You don't want to look in the corner. You don't want to turn around and see this man. You don't know what's going to happen. So there were a lot of years that I would just say, okay, cool, and walk out. And I'd say, they don't have much longer. But recently I was with a patient and she said, like she was saying, he's there, like he's behind you. And I was kind of in the corner of the room, I guess, he's there behind you. And so I turned around and I said, no, I don't see him. I believe you do, but I don't see him. And she, in all seriousness, you're going to see him one day. And I might be paraphrasing a pinch, but right about there. And I honestly was delighted because I was like, oh my God, like, so she actually like interacted, because at that point people are not interacting very well. They're not necessarily,
No.
but she definitely like interacted and was very serious and like telling me something about that. Do you know who the man in the corner is? Is it the same man all the time?
Is it you?
No, it's not me.
He's
I
too
couldn't help
busy to be the man in the corner. That would be too
I
many
couldn't help
corners.
it.
I know who got that one out. I feel like the old one. I mean, like I got no neighbor. Hello. I was. Did you ever see that the Brady Bunch thing that they did with the people, the Marvel characters, with Downey Jr. and all the other. Oh, you've got to see it. You've got to go on YouTube and type in Marvel Brady Bunch. Hysterical.
Okay.
Still do.
I didn't even know who the Brady Bunch were. It didn't make it across the pond.
Oh, really?
Can anyone really ever know the Brady Bunch? But
Not Alice. We don't know what was up with Alice. Let's be honest.
But let's go back, because I'm very curious as to
So who's this man? Do you know?
We're looking at you. We want the answer.
Who's asking who? What?
You.
Oh, me?
We're asking you.
You know.
I think they're asking you, Rob. They're not asking me.
Frank doesn't know.
Yeah.
I definitely don't know anything.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just give me paddles. Stand clear. They do that every episode, season 12.
Once you're doing that, we don't know. You're not talking about a man in the corner once we have to do that to you.
You were saying that there's a man in the corner where
So this man in the corner, and this woman was like, you're going to meet him one day. And everybody that's dying talks about, that is able to talk still, talks about a man in the corner.
Okay.
And this woman said, you're gonna meet him one day.
Oh, do you think that could be me?
Yeah. No, I mean, is it you?
That would be
I mean, that's the important question. Was she right? I met you tonight. So this woman was totally. Oh no.
Will we ever know? That's the thing.
Maybe
So
you were in the
I
corner,
guess
you
we
didn't know it.
You're gonna go through the rest of your life saying, "Oh, this is Tim. This is Kara. Oh, okay. Oh, hi, Tim. Nice to meet you. Are you the man in the corner?"
Every man in the corner. If he's standing in a corner, I'm gonna say, was
She's
she
like,
right?
Did you
Was
meet
she
that
right?
that Kara girl? Did she ask you too? Ask me what if I was the man in the corner? Yeah. Okay, yeah.
No, then on my deathbed, one day I will see the man in the corner and I'll go, "It's you." And he'll be like, "You're not supposed to be happy to see me. You're
or he'll
usually
say,
not happy to see me."
maybe he'll say, tickets, please.
And he'll
That's-
just leave and I'll be like, "Shit, what happens next?"
What?
He's not there.
Yeah. I and see this. Look at this. Look at the interaction between you guys. This is what I love. There's no better. I mean, there are a few better podcasts. I better be careful. Podcasts.
There's a few that
so
are better.
many
I
podcasts.
mean, this is one of my favorites so far. I've been on, and I've been on some really.
It's not one of mine, so that's good.
They never seem to have me back again, but I don't know why.
Meet us at the Field
The
Museum and
proposal?
buy you a hot
Yes.
dog.
Yes.
And then a real good Chicago hot dog. And then you can come to the wedding later.
Yeah, except for after that. Oh, I'm gonna make this so much more appealing, right? So we're gonna go to the Field Museum, which is amazing. We're gonna get a hot dog, which is extra amazing. And then we're gonna go to the Peggy Notebert Museum because the Peggy Notebert Museum has a room full of butterflies. It's like 70 different species. There's like 500 of them in there. All
Is that year round?
I've been to that room. I was
Mhm.
there once.
It's
Where
the
is this
coolest.
museum?
It's right across from Lincoln Park Zoo. Peggy Notebert Museum, and the
Notebert.
butterfly room is the butterfly room in the Peggy Notebert Museum.
What's the museum that's near the harbor? The big steps going down that I was saying about earlier with the hot dog.
The Field,
The Field
the
Museum.
There's a Field Museum.
It's right
Okay.
by the Shed Aquarium.
We call that a harbor?
Well, it's a watery thing.
I mean, it's the lake.
And then the planetarium's at the end.
Yeah.
That's also along the water too.
like
I
I
think
said,
No,
the
see,
watery thing.
Chenny's over here suggesting the butterfly room. I'm like, and then let's go to Navy Pier and just hang out and go on the whole thing for a while.
anywhere near water. Yeah.
Catch a show, go on the speedboats or something. We can make this more fun than butterflies. We really can.
We can kayak. Come on, the butterflies are so cool.
Well, the butterflies, but before the butterflies or the butterflies is so a nice either a nice hybrid sativa indica, and then maybe just something, a light beer or something, get a little beer
Yeah,
buzz
we'll just
going,
stop by
like,
Goose
over there.
Island and have
Into the
some beer, at least
butterfly
you and
room.
I, we will.
Mhm.
And
it's
then
because I can drive.
yes, she will drive us. So
Yes.
this would be perfect.
Built
And then,
in
you know what, we can
Silver
make it a write-off for both the podcast and your show. We'll go to Lincoln Park Zoo, which is haunted because it was an old cemetery.
Wasn't that the first ever
No,
zoo?
yeah.
Or something?
So yeah, it was our zoo, but it was also first a cemetery.
All the bodies floated. Yeah. Mhm.
Listen, but then we
And
gotta
then-
go to the Brookfield Zoo after that because that's where the goats are, and I need FaceTime with goats.
And then we could go to Forest Home Cemetery nearby, which is a pretty fun cemetery. We
That's
have
right.
different interests, Jenny
You
and
know
I.
what? Just come for the weekends. It will be a great weekend. There will be goats and butterflies and maybe some kayaking. And then
And
we can
old
look at
cemetery.
the cemeteries too.
Let's actually do this. I really
No.
like this.
I do schedule months in advance, so like I'm booking up fast. But
And
Have
Jenny's
your
serious
people
about the
call my
goats.
people, and
Yeah. I'm
I'll have your people call my people.
yeah, I'm pretty relatively open in October still. So like, I don't know. It's gonna be cold here in October. So I don't know.
Oh, October.
September might be good.
I'll tell you what. I take my hat off to anyone who investigates, much less films, in the winter months. It's in the East Coast anyway. Because it's crazy. One time, the only time we could get into Wilson Castles was season 7, and it was like February, and it's bloody Vermont, and
Oh,
I mean, you can't get much further north.
Nobody likes Vermont.
you go down to Vermont, even the Titanic's like fucking hey,
Yeah.
and it was okay. I was like fine, and then there was one small detail that I just for some reason wasn't told, and that was that the whole castle was on solar power.
Stop.
And that the solar power went out, of course, about a few hours before we arrived, or something like that. And so, what was a paranormal show episode turned into a survival show.
The survival show.
Because it
Oh,
was like minus 30 degrees. The drones were falling out of the sky after like 2 minutes.
Oh,
Frozen ectoplasm everywhere.
Megan says to me, she's like, Rob, I do you think that the fire really should be that many logs? It's kind of coming out into the, and I was just like,
fine.
was either that we either burn to death or we freeze to death. which do you want, But yeah, it was like minus 27 degrees or something like crazy like that. Never again.
no, not okay.
What's the most adverse, if I can ask you a question, what's the most adverse place or weather conditions you've ever investigated in? First, Kara.
So I'm not even going to say, I investigated was an incidental part of it. I was at the prison in the winter. It was during the really, really cold. We had a scheduled tour with people that I think it was like a solid 0 just during the day, and people scheduled things. And of course, because we're ridiculous, we stuck around and did some investigating, but it was so cold that you just couldn't even gloves, everything. You couldn't feel your fingers. And it's horrible. You can't, first of all, enjoy it as a human functioning, right? You can't. But also, you can't even get into a headspace to even see anything around you other than surviving. Like you are hoping to survive this with all of your limbs. And that's not investigating. That's not good.
Your focus has kind of changed.
Yeah, your focus is on like jumping up and down to not die, So at that point, you're not investigating, you're just surviving.
Well, you kind of would be if you froze to death, because then you'd be like finding out all these things.
You're part of the show. You become part of the show. You better hope those camera batteries and those drones are good enough to film you.
I love it. What about you two?
Well, I'll go first, Jenny. But I mostly investigate online things, so like internet mysteries and ARGs and stuff. So I'm behind the screen most of the time with any investigating that I might do, which is not anywhere near as exciting. Trust me on that. But so I haven't gone out in extreme conditions.
You might have had a power outage or run out of coffee or something.
Yeah. Sometimes I forget to put good socks on a cold day, so sometimes my feet are a little cold under the desk.
How about you, Tom?
And I haven't been on ghost investigations, right? So this is all new to me. Like the ghost stuff is newer to me. What drew me into this world is the interest in it and the enjoyment of hearing the stories, but also the cryptids and just the folklore and myth. So like that's kind of my jam. So I'm going to go on my very first investigation with Kara coming up in another couple of weekends here. So I'm excited about that. But I will tell you about the most.
No joke. I was like, where are we going? And then I remembered.
Oh my God. Okay.
You have to follow up. Rob wants to know how it goes.
But anyway, I will tell you about the most uncomfortable I was ever in a night, and it was purely due to my own stupidity. I went to Morocco a few years ago. And of course, when you're in Morocco, you have to go do things like ride camels into the Sahara, because why would you not, right? So I went out there, and I had flown over there by myself, and it was after a breakup, and I was feeling very independent woman. I'm traveling solo for the first time in a lot of years, and I met up with some friends and we rode the camels out into the Sahara. But I'm going to spend the night by myself in the tent, because I'm going to have this whole experience, this soul searching, growing meditation kind of deal, except for I completely disregarded the fact that it gets cold in the desert. And that's why they have everybody sleep in the tents together with the camel blankets, is
Mhm.
so that you preserve the heat. And I put on every piece of clothing that I had. I think I had about this much room out of my hoodie with my nose. And I spent the entire time wide awake, freezing underneath whatever pads and blankets I could muster, I could find. I stole a blanket from a camel, like just to get underneath
I can't.
something, anything. And I stayed awake all night, which it was the most uncomfortable I've ever been, but also one of the coolest experiences, because then I just got to watch the stars.
The stars. I was going to say, I mean, gosh, I haven't been to Morocco. Where was it, Marrakesh?
Marrakesh, yeah, right
Yeah.
outside of Marrakesh.
Yeah, I mean, the that's the thing about the desert. It's sort of, yeah, you get this beautiful star show, and they're like, you can't even comprehend. You're like, what?
Yeah.
But you freeze your tits off.
Yes, absolutely. And I almost did. Yeah, it was.
That is what happened. Yeah.
Technical terminology.
Yeah. But it was delightful and very uncomfortable.
That sounds amazing though.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Look, you got a great story out of it, so there's that, right?
Also, I spent the
Worth
night
it.
in the
Fantastic
Sahara, right? There
experience.
was nothing wrong with it, but it was just uncomfortable.
You know what? Moroccan food is good too, though, isn't it?
Oh my God.
Oh yes, little
Yeah.
bit of spice, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Say no more. Say no more. It's really, and that's the thing. You know
It
what?
was spectacular.
With all those bazaars, the bazaars.
Mhm. Yes, bazaars.
I haven't, in Egypt.
Mm.
I was a couple times in Egypt, and I can remember just being completely overwhelmed, sensory explosion. There was just too much data. It was like a fire hydrant of data and experiences and smells and sounds and feelings and vibes and people, like trying to fit through a big pen, sized channel.
Yeah.
It was just, that's the essence of, but that was very brave of you to travel alone through especially through Morocco.
Well, I met up with friends there, so so I had navigation when I got there.
Right.
But yeah, first time going that distance.
Great stuff, man.
So
It's amazing. It's
Yeah,
great.
super duper fun.
I look at I'd always think to myself as well, is it'd be great if you could bring an interpreter along and actually, like make at least the effort to just to ask the old Q&As, in their native tongue, if it still exists, because that's the other thing, isn't it, as well, that people forget is this could be anyone. It doesn't mean because you're in Marrakesh that you're not. I mean, Elvis might, you
might be there.
It doesn't. It's funny. It's crazy because it's something that we're used to based on ourselves, because if I want to talk to mum, I pick up the phone and call her in England. But of course, they're different sort of story, and I have to wait and try and get on a flight over and change in
it's a strange feeling to be completely, I mean, even when you travel like Central America or like Mexico or any place in Europe, like you're gonna have some form of English, there's gonna be some kind of commonality, but you go someplace like in Africa and you're just completely on the opposite spectrum of the language. Like there's no anything, and there's so many different words and cadences and interpretations that it just, how cool would it be just to know what somebody was actually saying?
That was just that would be just absolutely amazing. You think that it's a Star Trek scenario, that when you pass as spirit, you have a built-in universal translator.
Yeah.
But maybe you do. But I know that that I've read for people that spoke practically no English, and I'm hearing them in English, and my French is, well, it's pretty shabby. So who knows? And that's the beautiful thing about it. The more questions we can come up with as a paranormal community, you know, us people who have open minds and grown a big pair of brass balls, walk around in hospitals at 3 a.m. And we are the way we are, we think the way we do. But what a fantastic community of people. And I'll tell you something, more than anything else, that is what makes me really feel good that I belong to a community of really great people. You know, it's love. That's what it's all of it about, is intention. You know,
I love it. I love when people like want to grow. What? So confused. So confused as to what's happening.
it's okay. I am half the time.
I'm so confused.
But Kara, you know, something you said earlier, you know, struck me, and that was about, it doesn't have to be like in an event. You just like casually, for example, sit down anywhere in the dark, you know, at a building or building you're walking past, you know, like you used to when you were kids, and you're like, because there's shit all else to do, so let's just go and scare the shit out of each other, you know. And that sort of progresses to, that's a lot of people that I know have gotten into the paranormal literally because of that thrill-seeking element, but then they've gotten to embrace that whole other side of it. You know, it's almost it's almost ironic, because I see that as the whole Titanic tragedy over again. You know, the irony of that going down to visit a shipwreck and then being becoming a part of one. I think have you ever seen that movie, The Others? You've seen the others? You've seen The Others?
Yes. I love that. Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like, because at the end you're like, oh shit, you know, and it's all making sense, because it's one of those yeah, because up until that I thought, God, I was only at the toilet for like 2 minutes or getting popcorn. I come back, I can't understand a damn thing about this plot, you know, and then at the end you do. So it's just like, but maybe we are the ghosts. Maybe we are the ghosts, you know. We're the dead, the dry run. The ancient Egyptians believed that this was a dry run, and that, you know, you go to the underworld, you get buried with your servants, with all your worldly possessions.
Right, and that's when real life started.
Well, yeah, and it was a sad day, but it was an even sadder day if you were one of the staff. Oh shit, I resigned yesterday. Look. I mean, there's who will ever know? Will we ever know, until we get to that place, until we cross that veil, whatever you want to call it? Will we ever be able to truly take it out, put it in a box, open it up and say, look, see, to science? Because science, do you know what someone said to me the other day? Was like, you shouldn't question it, it's science. And I said, that's a bloody oxymoron. The whole definition of science is questioning science. Yeah. You know, that's exactly what the definition is of science, you know. And so we should always keep asking each other questions, but it just doesn't mean that someone else is wrong and we're necessarily right. It's just about, depends on your point of view and what you feel you believe is probably more right. And that's why I get frustrated when people say, no, that's definitely an orb. Yeah, it's an orb. No, it's not. Yeah, you know, and I'll just like,
well, everybody has a different perspective, and everybody is the main character in their own story.
because and it's a story that's never ending.
Right.
You know, it never
That's
will.
how it feels sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
ooh,
Oh, Kara.
oh, Kara. She's got a sharp tongue, that lady. That's how it feels sometimes. All right. Anyway, well, I must be going. I got some hair to wash. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, so yeah, what else?
What else you got, Kara?
I was gonna say, like, that's our hour. Like, we've kept you way over time here. Like,
Yeah.
I nothing else better to do, really, truly.
I
If
mean-
I wasn't doing this, I'd be doing the washing up, not to be, but yeah, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, I would say that our
Yeah.
favorite guests are the ones that we truly have like a real conversation with, and that's definitely you. I think your sense of
Yeah.
humor is
no, for real.
probably out of all of the guests we've had, probably the best.
Oh,
Also, probably the most charming. And I'm not just blowing smoke. Either.
Oh,
I really enjoyed
Thank you.
myself. I don't
Well,
deliver compliments like
look at
that
Frank
to just
go.
anyone.
I know.
I'm one of the most misunderstood people, because I do get nervous on interviews, and I think I try and fill silences in, and sometimes it's like what the fuck did you just say, Rob? But I'm a very much a people person, so I love talking to anyone, and I'll always make time for people, and that's something I think is really important if you're whether you're in the public eye or not, is just remembering that this just we all bleed the same bloody way. We all bleed the same color. And I'm not going to get into go political about that, but there's some things happening in America at the moment that make me very sad, because I love America, and and I'm talking about book censorship. Have we really reached that place? Yeah, I mean, it's a bit sad.
A little
Yeah.
bit. There's some laws being passed that aren't so great too. Not real excited about some of them.
No, but yeah, and so we've got no polar. It's funny. It's just like the government, isn't it? Because it's almost like, but there's no polarization like there is, because people don't understand. In the community, the paranormal community is a good example to set for that. For example, what I'm talking about is we've got far, far, far more in common than we have that divides us by a difference of opinion over whether something's an orb or not, or whether someone's a fake medium or a fake investigator or a flashlight or a toilet seat. We have more in common, 1,000 times more in common with each other than we don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Remember that.
So,
I'm into it.
where can our listeners that want to see more of you, where can they find you? Where can they hear you? Where can they get more?
Next week on our podcast when he comes back.
Yeah.
There you go.
But also,
All right. Well, all right. That's good enough. Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks for the warning.
that's it. That's the only place you're gonna find him.
That's it. Nowhere else.
Just here.
Maybe in the corner of the room. Nowhere else.
Give me another whiskey, for God's
Well,
sake.
So all 12 seasons of Ghost Finders, is that in one place, or how do we watch it?
So, you can. The best thing you do, well, I'll tell you, we're on Paraflix, which is the streaming platform for all of your paranormal needs.
$3.99 a month.
Yes, or if you're cheap ass, then you can watch us on the Spirit channel. We're on Roku, which is not the Roku channel, it's Roku. We've got one of those TVs, and then just Spirit channel, as well as My Paranormal Experience and a whole bunch of others. But We're also on Apple TV. We are on Amazon Prime and Amazon Fire. If you're in Europe, we're on Prime. We're coming back to Prime. It's going to be about another month, just in time for Halloween season. But yeah, and then September 15th, just over 4 weeks from now, will be our premiere for season 12. Yeah, it's going to be an amazing adventure. You'll see what we encountered there with our good friend Patty Negri.
Oh, I thought I saw that, but I don't know if I realized that you would be that involved. That's awesome.
Yeah, can you believe it? Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Well, thank you, Kara. And she's actually on a few episodes this season, and God, what a diamond. She's like a beacon of energy. Just love her to bits. Wonderful lady. So yeah, that's where you can find us, and on Facebook at Facebook at The Ghost Finders, or at Rob Thompson Spirit Medium. If you want to book a reading, then you go to spiritmedium.com.
Awesome. You guys, so one of the things that we like to do at the end of the show is just leave our listeners or viewers later on with a final thought. Who wants to go first? I know I'll go last.
Oh, well, okay, I'll go first. Come back anytime. Please come to Chicago and hang out with us. We really need to make this weekend happen.
Yes, please.
There will be lots of fun activities for all sorts of interests. Definitely going to look you up on Facebook. I personally have been thinking about doing a reading and just kind of not sure who to go to. I've had a couple of suggestions, but anyway, so perhaps I will do that, but I will look you up on Facebook. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was incredible, truly one of the more delightful guests, and so now we're all going to be big fans and be sharing all of your stuff all over the place, because that's what we do.
Yes.
And yeah, just overly flattering, because that's what we do. We get crushes on people.
Oh, well, you guys are the absolute most fantastic. You're one of my favorite podcasts I've ever been on. And everyone else at home, even listening, we'll do another 10 minutes of blowing feathers up each other's asses.
Yes, please.
And have a commercial.
It is what we do. And I was going to say, in addition to the hot dogs that we will get in front of the Field Museum, we'll also go get pizza. So, I mean...
Oh, deep dish.
I'm really upping the ante here. You know, we just eat deep dish, Chicago deep dish pizza just like it's normal dinner. But when we can actually go to a place with somebody that doesn't always get this, really, chef's kiss. So let's go do that.
Yeah.
Right. We'll take you to Payquads. It's the best. It's the actual non-touristy deep dish.
I'm game, man. I am game. Even though I'm not eating bread or pizza right now.
That's okay. I'll get you guys.
I mean, neither am I most of the time, but
it's
like you put
cheese.
a Malnati me. I mean,
I'm eating lots of bread and lots of cheese on a regular basis.
You can eat the cheese and then you give us the bread.
What did you say? Is mostly cheese?
The deep dish is mostly cheese.
Is it really?
It's like all cheese.
It's mostly cheese.
We're really close to Wisconsin, so everything has a lot of cheese in it too.
Oh, yeah.
We're very cheese-based, cheese and bread-based.
Does that mean you're not like, oh, I guess you got to, because it's bloody cold as hell, right? You know?
You have to gain an extra layer for winter.
Like Vermont.
And then that's why we all freak out to go to the gym before summertime.
We hope you're not lactose intolerant.
No.
That's lactate. You take some lactate.
Yeah, and
there's
there will be a designated driver, so that way you can enjoy another of Chicago's offerings. Yeah, I'm the designated driver.
Trying to point in the right direction.
Yeah, but you can enjoy another one of Chicago's lovely offerings, which is Malort.
I've never had Malort. We should do Malort for the first time together.
I'm doing it.
Oh no, Jack Osborne said to me
making us drink it.
I drank so much of that stuff back in the day, so I did my time.
I've never even tasted it, and I know it's horrible. So that's what we'll do. That's our Chicago trip. Jenny drives us around.
I have to try that now. That's
to pizza places and bars with Malort.
Rob, is there any final thoughts that you want to leave our listeners with before we depart?
Gosh,
No pressure.
really crazy. No pressure. something. Just really, if you can, just make every day. Open your eyes and think, not FML, or even if you've got a crappy day ahead, don't think, my mother-in-law's coming around and the landlord's not going to fix this leak again and this shit's going to go wrong and that won't work, because the universe is very busy in the kitchen. All right, the orders are going up. All right, it's not hearing every single word. All it hears is shitty day, FML, mother-in-law, no plumbing fix, and so manifesting your day that you can do anything with. It's a brand new day starting tomorrow morning. So will it and manifest it to be a good day.
Wonderful.
About love.
Love it.
Beautiful. All right, well, I'll take us out as usual. For everyone else, I just want to thank Rob again for coming on our show. Definitely love to have him. Probably my favorite guest of all time, and I'm not just saying that. And for everyone else listening in, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling your friend. Definitely going to link everyone to check out Rob and some of his work. To everyone else, we'll see you next week, and we will definitely try to will things to be better. A better tomorrow, a better day, a better life. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.